Hello everyone and welcome to another Digimon Virtual Pet video. In this video I'm going to be answering a question that I'm commonly asked both in real life as well as in the YouTube comments for my videos. And that is, what is the best Digimon Virtual Pet for beginners? So for me, this is the Digital Monster version 20th. And of course this is just my opinion, so if you have a different virtual pet that you recommend for people who are getting into Digimon or getting into virtual pets, please let me know in the comments because I'd be very interested to hear what you think. Anyway, so I have 6 main reasons why I think that the version 20th is the absolute best Digimon virtual pet for beginners. So I guess without further ado, here are my reasons. So first up, they are easy and cheaply accessible. This is a huge one for people because not everyone can afford to just import everything from Japan. So of course there are lots of Digimon virtual pets that you can just import from Japan, but with the version 20th, if you are in a country where the version 20th was released, you can basically, unless you're in lockdown, literally go outside your house right now and pick one up for about $20. So that's fairly easy. They're just at, EB Games, Target, Big W, JB, Hi-Fi, wherever. So that's a main point. You can just sort of go out and get one. And if you're in a country where they weren't released, you can still import them from one of the countries that it was released, and it would probably be cheaper than getting one or any of the other Digimon virtual pets from Japan or importing it, because you'd be importing it anyway. But for the main point, it is, at least for me, easy to go out and just buy one. So it's cheap, it's like $20 Australian, and it's easy to access. Like someone can just go out and get one. So of course that point is mainly for if someone asks me in real life. Obviously I know that they can just go out to EB Games or Big W or whatever and get one. So that's my first point about why I recommend the version 20th as a virtual pet for beginners. So the second point, and it's kind of because my first point being easily and cheaply accessible, is that there's the DMX, which is released next month in Australia, so I think it's August 6th that's coming out here, and so that will also be cheaply and easy to access if you're in Australia. So the second point is that there's no grinding in the Digital Monster 20th, which there's a lot of grinding in the DMX, so that's why I recommend the version 20th over the DMX, on the basis that there's not so much grinding. And what I mean by grinding is that there's the Battle Coliseum in both the version 20th and the DMX, but in the version 20th, you only really need to spam the first level to get both your win count up and also your overall battles up, because you do actually unlock an egg when you fight about 50 or 100 battles. There's 2 different eggs depending on how many battles you take. So you don't have to clear 100 battles, like up to, battle 1, battle 2, battle 3, whatever. You don't have to clear all the battles, you only have to clear 100 battles. So you can actually just spam the first battle, which is Kunemon. So no grinding at all. With the DMX, to unlock certain Digimon, you have to beat all the areas of the battle, so you have to defeat multiple Digimon, and also each map can be fairly long, like about 6 Digimon you have to fight in a row. And you also have to level up to unlock certain evolution paths. With the DM20th, you only have to really get your win count to like 15, basically, or I guess less. You have to have a win rate of like 80% with 15 battles. So you can just spam that on Kunemon. So there's not grinding at all comparatively. So that's another reason why I recommend the version 20th, especially because, as I mentioned, my first point being it's easily accessible. There'll be another one that's also easy to access, but I would still recommend the version 20th over it because the battle mode it means less grinding. My third point about why I recommend the version 20th is that it has really convenient sleep times, which are, I find that when I'm raising my DMX or my Pendulum Z, I feel like they're always wanting to go to bed 2 hours after I do, so I have to actually change the time to be 2 hours in the future, so they go to bed before me. With the DM20th, I feel like not only do they have more reasonable sleep times of around, before 10 o'clock, I also can put them to sleep earlier. So the DM20th is different from the Pendulum 20th, the DMX, and the Pendulum Z because those three have the freezer functionality where you can put it in the freezer and basically put it on pause until you unpause it. The DM20th, and this does not include the version Revival because the version Revival added the freezer functionality, so I'm just not talking about the version Revival here, but yeah, anyways, so the DM20th, you can actually put it to sleep for 2 hours at a time if it's not sleepy. So you basically put it in a nap. So the thing is, if you put it in a nap less than 2 hours before its bedtime, it will continue to sleep. So it'll sleep through and it'll have those extra 2 hours of sleep. So if you want to go to bed and it's still like an hour and a half until your Digimon goes to bed, you can put it to sleep. So I feel like that's a pretty handy functionality. So the sleep times being more convenient is definitely a plus for me because I don't really want to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because my DMX says that 1 a.m. is its bedtime. And having the time put like 4 hours in the future is kind of inconvenient because your Digimon then will wake up at 7 in the morning, which if your Digimon is 4 hours in the future is actually 3 in the morning in your actual time. So unless you're waking up at 3 a.m, that's not super convenient. So that's definitely a plus for me. My fourth point about why I recommend the version 20th as a great beginner virtual pet is the fact that the evolution paths are fairly simple. You get to choose an egg, which means that the paths are like a little bit smaller than the DMX because the DMX has one, well, the version 3 has an extra egg which is linear, but primarily the DMXs are all just one egg, same with the Pendulum Zs, and of course the Pendulum 20ths are similar to the DM 20ths where you get to choose an egg. But anyway, so the evolution paths are fairly simple, and a few of the eggs you unlock actually just have linear paths. So they just sort of go in one line. You don't have to remember, oh, how many sleep disturbances did I need? How many overfeeds do I need? That's kind of nice. And not to mention, and this kind of ties in with my second point, which is the grinding functionality, the evolution requirements are quite simple compared to the DMX, where you have to be between, like, for example, level 6 and 8, and you have to have trained this many times, and you have to have cleared this number of battles and unlocked this Digimon. That's a little bit complicated for the DM20th. The evolution paths are more straightforward. It's more like you have the win count, you have the battle requirements, so you have like 15 battles with 70% win rate. Then there's the care mistake functionality, how much you train it, the overfeeds, the sleep disturbance. It's a little bit simpler, and as I said in the second point, there's less grinding. So that's a plus for me. So my other point, which is my fifth point, it's kind of like a little bit of a silly point, but the shell choices, there's just so many of them, so there's just so many different colours that you can pick. And this is mainly for the English release because for the Wave 3 especially, they just released all these different shells, which is really nice, especially if you like to take them apart and basically customize your own by swapping the frames and buttons and shells. So that's fairly cool, big fan of that. I did do a video when the Wave 3 came out of me changing around some buttons, so if you're interested in that, check it out. But basically I just loved the large amount of shells that they released for the English DM20th. And yes, that is just because they said, well, we can make more money if we make lots of shells, which is true, because I bought lots because I like making shells. That's cool. So if that's something you're interested in and having lots of different shells, then that's another plus, and it is a plus for me. And then my sixth point about why I recommend this for virtual pet beginners is that it has a long battery life. So this is compared to the DMX, which again I'm saying that the DMX is coming out soon, so I have to compare why you should pick the version 20th over that, and that's because the DMX's screen and sound make it not last as long for the battery. So, and also, I feel like it's also the fact that the DMX and I guess the Pendulum Z have these random encounters that happen during the day, which kind of also adds the complexity of it, as well as the Xi rolls. So there's all these things that obviously light up the screen, make sounds, and that depletes the battery. So I find whenever I'm running my DMX that it might actually need a few battery changes before my Digimon actually reaches the end of its life. So that's a lot, or just reaches the last evolution point. It just runs out of batteries like twice, which is kind of annoying. You keep on having to change batteries more than you do anything else on the Digimon. With the DM20th, I feel like I'm able to get basically a full run. Like, I don't think I've run out of many batteries while I'm playing with the DM20th. Like, I'll be playing with it, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play with my DM20th anymore, so I put it away, and then, it never really runs out of battery that way. It seems like it just lasts forever. Maybe it's because I've been running my English DM20th more, and I think their battery seems a little bit better, likely because I think the sound is quieter. But anyway, that is another main point, because you don't really want to continuously change batteries, especially if you're a beginner. You might find that that's kind of annoying when you have to keep on changing batteries on this thing. So that's another plus. However, I do have those 6 positives. I also have a few negatives, which I guess your mileage may vary on them depending on how much you care about these. So first of all, and this is something that was apparently fixed with the version revival that came out, is that the Digimon poop a lot. So I feel like most of the time they're pooping, and because you can actually raise 2 Digimon simultaneously, that doubles the poop. So most of the time the screen is full of poop, so it fills it up with 2 on each side, and that makes your Digimon sick. And if your Digimon gets sick a certain number of times, your Digimon will die. So the workaround is either A, clean up the poo constantly, or B, leave the pile of 4 poos on the screen, and then your Digimon will not poop anymore, and that means your Digimon won't get sick. It just means you have a wall of poo separating your Digimon, or if you only have one, a wall of poo taking up half the screen. So that's something you have to think about. So either clear up the poo or just have the poo there forever and it doesn't look that good. The other negative, which is actually a positive for me, but a lot of people don't like it so much, is that the sound on the English DM20th is quiet. And I love this. I think this is a positive of it because I don't really like when they're blaring. I'm currently raising my Tamagotchi Nanos, and when they want your attention, they scream, which is just really off-putting, and especially because the Tamagotchi Nanos don't just scream when they want your attention, they also scream when there's something happening on the screen, like an event or a little animation that it wants to show you, like, hey, look, an animation, which is cute. But it is just so loud and alarming, and they're just so small, I don't know how they make so much noise. I don't like it. The DM20th is really quiet, which is also a negative because if it's in your bag or far away, and you're just in somewhere that's not silent, you just won't be able to hear it. So it's kind of like the sound is really quiet, and that's because the little speaker is actually not, like, it's actually kind of in the shell. There's no, like, speaker wire. It's kind of like a cheaper speaker, which makes it easier for if you're taking the shell apart so you can swap parts, but it kind of makes it quiet. So it's a very quiet speaker, which is a negative for some, but a positive for me. And then my last negative is that unless you have a decom, you will basically be required to have multiple version 20ths in order to unlock the last exclusive egg. So every version has an exclusive egg, so we've got Yamato's Gabumon, Taichi's Agumon, Coronamon, Lunamon, and Meikumon. So depending on which shell you have, you might have a different version. So to unlock each of that egg on each, you will have to connect to 5 unique version 20ths. So you can do this really easily with the decom, which I've mentioned in a few of my other videos, or you can have 2 and just reset one 5 times and connect each time and have a different name, and then it'll think it's a different one, and you will unlock your special exclusive egg. But if you have a decom, it's barely a negative at all, but it's something I should mention because, you might not have a decom and you might not have multiple of the version 20ths. So that's something that kind of is a negative, but overall, the DM20th is something that I would recommend for either a beginner for virtual pets overall, or someone who is a beginner to Digimon Virtual Pets, but maybe is super into the Tamagotchis or Gigapets or any of the other virtual pets, or even somebody who hasn't really been into any virtual pets since they were a kid. Maybe they played with the original Digimon when they were a kid, and they're kind of looking to get back into it now. And especially this is a good one for them because it also has that nostalgic feature where you raise that Digimon as a kid and now you're raising again as an adult. Like, you can get a sense of nostalgia from that, and that's also, I guess, a minor positive there. So those are basically my reasons for why I recommend it. I know in a few videos I've said that the version 20th is my favourite. At the moment I wouldn't say that, but I do think it's definitely the one I would recommend if someone is wanting to get into virtual pets, because it is fairly, well, I guess all of those reasons I just listed. It's simple, it's easy to access, it's cheap, there's no grinding, the sleep times are convenient, the evolution paths are simple, it's fairly simple to get into, lots of shell choice, long battery life. And I guess if you also like it, the sound is quiet. So those are my reasons. If you disagree and you think that another Digimon Virtual Pet is better for beginners, please let me know in the comments which one and why you would think that that's better for beginners, because I'd be interested to know what everyone else thinks. And also, if you found this video and you now have a version 20th, would you agree with me that it was good for you as a beginner, or would you think that you would have preferred any of the other virtual pets that I've spoken about? And let me know about that in the comments too. So yes, thanks for watching this video. I hope that you found it helpful, and I will see y'all next one. Bye!